Back with another update on Project Electrollite. I've been driving the car for a little over 100 miles now, and so I thought I would go over what it's like to operate the car. First thing is the keyless entry. This is a proximity system, so you can just walk up with the fob, or you can use the standard lock and unlock buttons. So there's the unlock, and that's part of the security system that activates or deactivates the start switch. Right up here we've got the start switch. So one push would be accessory power. That would be everything like instrument lighting, the controls for the air conditioning, and the stereo if you just wanted to sit here and run the stereo. Next push would be ignition power. This fires up the low voltage side of the Tesla drive unit. It kicks on the power distribution module from SmartWire. So once that's powered, you can see now it's charging the dash. The dash comes alive. And now we are ready to start. To start, we push the brake. So with the brake in, and then we push the start button. There's a contactor that closes, and now there's full voltage to the Tesla drive unit. You could just get in, push the brake, and hit the start button, and everything would fire up all at once. To shut down, you hold the brake, push the start button, and everything shuts down. The secondary tablet, it's a little more manual. This has the moving map, music apps. It's got 4G, so if you wanted to listen to streaming music or look up GPS locations, you can also watch Netflix or whatever you want to do, anything you can do on a tablet. So if we were to get in and just want to drive, push the start switch. That fires everything up. It even fired up the air conditioning. That's a thermostat controlled air conditioning. So with our fan on, we're now blowing nice cool air. It's about, well, let's see, it's 81 degrees in the car now. So that should cool it down fairly quickly. And it'll just cycle the air conditioner on and off as needed. Now to drive, it's pretty simple. We just have forward reverse. So you just select your reverse, and then we turn the brake off. That disengages the parking brake, and now we can just roll. When you stop, it's just the opposite. Set the brake, put it back into neutral, and the car is ready to walk away. Now for a little bit of the detail on what is happening as you power everything up. Back in the trunk, we've got our battery management system. This is the Orion 2 unit mounted just below the package tray. This has three power sources. It has constant power, it has switched power, which would be ignition, and it also has charge power. So when we get in and we push the ignition switch, this powers up. It reads all of the battery cells and looks for faults, and assuming there's no faults, it will turn on what's called discharge enable. The discharge enable is a pull to ground output, which I have feed a relay, just a standard 3040 relay. That relay's job is to disconnect anything that can discharge the high voltage battery pack. So that includes the Tesla drive unit, the DC-DC converter, air conditioning, heater, battery heater, anything that could cause a discharge. That way, if there's something wrong with the battery pack or the voltage drops low, it will shut off the discharge enable relay, and then nothing can discharge. In my case, for all of the 12 volt systems, that all goes through the SmartWire power distribution module, which is also shut down and that would be a draw on the 12-volt battery. So it prevents discharge on both batteries. This car has a 12-volt battery just like every electric car. And the whole car is run on 12 volt as far as controls. So the BMS, the Tesla drive units, controller, all of the car functions, lights, radio, that sort of thing. So you need to have a 12 volt battery. That battery is charged through the charger / DC-DC converter. This is a great unit that Stealth EV sells. It's liquid cooled. And so whenever the BMS is fired up, it allows DC enable, or a discharge enable, excuse me. Then it will charge this just like an alternator would. It holds it at about 13.8 to 14 volts. So it's always charged up. The other time the discharge enable works is when you're charging. So the third power source for the battery management system is when you plug in your J1772 charger. So when we insert this charge cable, we plug it in. The battery management system has now started to check the battery. You can see it kicked everything on here. So the discharge enable works. That allows DC-DC charging of this battery. It fired up the power distribution module, which is programmed to turn on the battery pump. Now it's circulating coolant through the batteries, through all of these manifolds, and it's also flowing through the charger to keep it cool while it's charging. So the car is now charging, the battery management system is monitoring, and this was almost full, so it won't take long. It will get up to the point where it starts to balance the cells, and then once it's fully charged, it will just kick it off. As a safety feature, going back to the 3 power sources, there's always constant power, and right now there's charge power on the battery management system. If I was to go in and turn on ignition power, that would be kind of a threat because you could drive away while you're still plugged in. So when the Orion detects that it has ignition and charge power, it will shut off that discharge enable, and that will prevent the car from rolling away. You would not be able to drive the car. It would disconnect all power. So that's one of the safety features built in. So while the car is charging, I have the power distribution module programmed to turn on the park lights. It's just kind of a physical indication that it is still charging. Once it's up to full charge and everything's balanced, everything will kick off, and that indicates a full charge. So right now, coolant is flowing through the batteries. They have a manifold, 2 cooling loops through each module, and these go through in parallel fashion, so you get very even temperature control through all the 16 modules all at once. This is the return flow going to the radiator. It pulls from the bottom of the radiator where the pump is located and circulates it all the way through. It's monitoring the temperature on the return coming out of the charger so that if the temperature gets up to a certain level, it will kick on the fan and keep it cooler. So that's how you can charge at higher rates once I add fast DC charging. While driving, anytime the ignition is on, both pumps are on. There's a pump for the battery system and a pump for the motor. You can see it's off now. There's no return coming from the motor pump. It does not need cooling during charging. But once it's running, the motor pump is running, and then the fan will cycle based on temperature with another coolant temp sensor, and that is, again, programmed in the power distribution module. This battery box in the front is all sealed up now. It's got a plexiglass cover to keep fingers out and moisture out. Everything is all sealed. And I still have a few things to hook up. I have not hooked up the heater because it's hot outside. Once I need it, I'm sure I'll have more motivation to finish that. The vacuum pump works with ignition also. Once the ignition is on, vacuum pump pulls the vacuum. There's a check valve to keep the vacuum booster fully pressurized at all times. Wipers are also on ignition. This is one of the cool features I like about this car. It had the hidden wipers. They tuck under the back lip of the hood. And we've got the Roadrunner horn. I'm going to demonstrate the Meep Meep horn here in a second, but just to show the safety features, the car is currently charging, and I'm going to reach in and turn on the ignition. We'll start with the accessory, and now we're going to go ignition on, and it shut the car down. That is the safety feature that is built into the BMS so that you cannot drive away while charging. And now for the Roadrunner horn. Very classic Mopar thing. Now that we have a quick overall of how it works, let's go take it for a drive. Okay, so we've hopped in the car. We're going to fire it up here. It's a warm day, so I'm going to go ahead and run the air conditioning. You can see in the car it's 82 degrees right now. So after the pre-charge, the air conditioner starts to run. The fan will be a little bit loud. And so now everything is powered up. We'll just kick it into reverse. Kick the brake off. And off we go. Power steering works terrific. It's the electric power rack. It's got variable control. And it's just got a great feel. And to forward, and I'll have to maneuver here a little bit because I've got too many cars in the way. Very silent, it's very smooth, and it's very responsive. You can hear all the clunks and rattles that I have to chase down. The gauges are nice and visible from the driver's seat. The car feels very stable. You can feel the weight, but it just adds to the stability of the car. It handles very flat with the front and rear sway bars and the coilovers. I'm still dialing in the compression and rebound adjustment, but they have very good control right now. Turn signals, I've programmed the frequency, which is kind of just a fun gee whiz thing you can do with the power distribution module. Here's a little power hit. It takes off. It kind of feels like you're being shot out of a cannon. I have the power ramp pretty mild right now, so the initial acceleration ramps, and then once it's full power, it just lets you have it. Once I finish my door panels, these are not sound deadened, and I don't have the door panels on yet. I'm still installing. I've installed the driver's side window, power window motor, and power door lock. I still need to do the passenger side, and I'm waiting on some parts to finish it up. Here we go. This is a concrete street, just turn on here and give it a little bit of power. That was a quick 60 plus pull, but you could probably hear those tires screeching. It is ready to go anytime. I still have some limitations built in. I don't have the full amperage available yet, but it is more than enough power. So we're gonna cruise down and find maybe a deserted stretch of road so we can get some exterior footage. It's been hard to find a cameraman while I'm driving, but I brought one with me today. Say hi to Wyatt.
Hello.
So Wyatt's gonna get some footage for us. Alright, so we just found kind of a deserted stretch here and some new warehouses. And I'm gonna go ahead and set the brake, kick it into neutral, and we'll get some outside shots. I'm really liking the drivability of the car, but it still has some stance. Kind of tuck the top lip of the tire in. The offset on these wheels is because the Tesla drive unit is so wide. I had to get a real high offset wheel, and I kept the same in the front, which gives it a bit of a stagger, and it allows a lower ride height with still full turning capability. The silver really shines nice in the sun. I'm happy with the silver and black. Let's see what it can do. Alright, so a little bit of fun today. More action videos to come. We'll be getting it to the track before too long. See what it can do as I finish turning up the power and work on some of the settings. I'm kind of dipping my toes into it so I don't overdo before I learn everything. Take a little look at our handiwork here. Always nice to make two stripes. Thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe if you want to see some more. And this is just the beginning. Loving the Tesla swap.